name is Damian Mendoza. I go to San Pedro High School. Today I'm going to show you how to do an oil change on an XC90 Volvo 2006. First, the most important things we'll need is some gloves, protective eyewear, and some pants that cover all your legs, and some closed-toe shoes. You can't be wearing no Crocs or slides, and obviously a shirt. And for the stuff we need, we're gonna need an oil pan, a jack, some jack stands, a creeper, a ratchet. We'll also need an extension. The extension is to your preference. We'll also need a 17mm combination wrench to help remove the oil plug. We will also need a rag, a funnel, and an oil filter remover. Next, what we do is we get our jack and we move it under the car. What we want to do here is we need to find a secure lifting point and move the jack under it. Once we find a good secure lifting point, we lift up the jack to make the car go up. And after the car is up, we place our jack stands to keep it secure. Next, what we do now, after the car is safely secured on the jack stands, we will pop open the hood and locate the oil cap. Once we locate it, we remove it and place it to the side. Next, we locate the oil dipstick. Next, what we do is we locate the dipstick. Once we locate it, we pull it out and we give it a wipe first because the reading at the first time is not correct. Now we put it back in to read it. So what here are we looking for? We are looking for, is the oil in between the two lines? As we can see here, the oil is way below the suggested level and therefore needs oil. Next, once we're under the car, we will need to locate our drain plug and our oil filter. The first thing we need to do is make sure we have our oil pan below our oil filter. The oil, once the drain plug is removed, will fall down at an angle, so we will have to make sure that the pan is going to catch all the oil. Next, we will get our 17mm wrench and remove the drain plug off it. First, we want to break the torque in order for us to make sure to be able to remove the drain plug. We're good. Next, we get our ratchet with the extension and put our oil filter remover on the ratchet and place it on our oil filter. We will have to make sure the ratchet is on off and safely remove the oil filter. Some oil may spill when the filter is removed, so it would be best to have our drain pan below it just to catch any leftover oil. Next, you get your new oil filter, and then with a marker you write down the information such as when and what mileage did you change the oil filter and where you did it. And before you put the new oil filter, you would have to apply some oil around it to lubricate it and put it back in here. We want to make sure that both the oil filter and drain plug aren't screwed in too tight, or else it would be more difficult for us to remove. Once you are done, you would want to get a rag and clean all your tools of any oil and the floor of any oil. Now what we need to do is put our funnel on here and put our recommended amount of oil. This car takes 6.1 quarts of oil, so what we have to do is get 6 bottles of oil because each bottle is 1 quart. And then once we finish pouring all our oil into the vehicle, we get our cap and securely tighten the cap. After we pour in all the oil, next what you would want to do is turn on the car for approximately 10 to 15 seconds. And after you turn on the car, you would want to let it sit so the engine cools down and you don't burn yourself. And then we would want to check the dipstick for the oil. We give it a first wipe first, and then put it in. And then that's when we check our reading level. As you can see, there's not enough oil in the car. Once we are done, we will briefly look over all our liquids to make sure everything is at level. And we'll also look at our air filter too to make sure. And once we are done, we should wipe off our engine too to make sure there's not any leftover oil that's spilled on the engine. Because if there might be like smoke poking out the engine, and you know, people might get worried about that. Once we are done looking over everything, we now close our hood slowly and safely. And once we close our hood, we get our jack, put it under the car, and lift the car to remove all the jack stands and slowly lower the car. And that's how we get an oil filter.